Hey all, welcome to Share Trek. This is Raj here. Guys, I hope you had a good day. Of course, the market has not been that great out here in Canada. We are a bit disappointed because the central bank raised the interest rate by 25 basis points. So everything is a bit flat on this side. It's going to have a very bad effect on the real estate market because as it is, people are not able to afford homes and therefore the rental stock is not improving. Investors are not putting money in rental stock because returns are negative due to high mortgage rates and high interest rates. And therefore, people who had saved money to move into their own property have to stay in a rental premises for longer. And since new landlords are not investing in property or existing landlords are not finding it profitable to bring more rental stock, there's a shortage of rental units. And on top of that, our government has very ambitious immigration targets. So things are going to look really difficult for Canada in the next 2 to 3 months. So hopefully that brings the inflation to a halt and we can start seeing some rate cuts later on. So that's my hope. But then coming back to the topic for today, it's going to be Illumina because we have a latest update on Illumina. So let's get started with that. Welcome back, friends. We have an update that informs us about Illumina, that Illumina has filed an appeal against the FTC ruling in which, according to the filing in the US Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, Illumina is arguing that FTC violated due process by depriving Illumina and Grail of a fair proceeding before an impartial tribunal. So that's their claim. I do not think that looks strong enough to me because my understanding is that they bought Grail regardless of the warnings from FTC and the EU Competition Commission. So that's my understanding. I'll have to go and check it again because if this is the pleading they have, then there must be something to it. So I'll make a separate video about that. I'll have to dig into history and find out what exactly happened. Initially, FTC lost an appeal by Illumina when an administrative law judge at the FTC dismissed the antitrust charges brought by FTC against Illumina. However, the FTC in April ruled for a second time that Illumina's 2021 acquisition of its formerly part-owned subsidiary Grail should be undone. The FTC's main concern has been that Illumina, being the dominant provider of DNA sequencing of tumors and cancer cells that help match patients with best treatment options, might raise prices or refuse to sell its equipment to Grail's rivals and thus stifle competition to Grail, and this may result in higher prices to customers. Grail was purchased by Illumina for $7.1 billion. Right now, Grail is seeking to market a powerful test kit to diagnose many kinds of cancers from a single blood test known as liquid biopsy. Galleri is the brand name of the test, Galleri. Grail says it can detect more than 50 types of cancer with a single blood sample. Just as regular cells shed DNA when they die, so do tumor cells, and this DNA is traceable in the blood. The test has been validated by Grail in clinical trials. If the test detects something, there's a 45% likelihood that it's cancer. An extremely highly predictive rate for a cancer test has been achieved by Galleri. Galleri says it can predict where a cancer is in the body with 90% accuracy. This is absolutely phenomenal in my opinion, and also explains why Francis D'Souza is not willing to let go of Grail. The test has been available commercially in the US for 18 months. The next step is the NHS Galleri clinical trial to demonstrate that the test works at scale. NHS is the National Health Service, and with that, Grail will get first data from this trial next year. Then, if that data looks good, they will extend the pilot to over 1 million people over the next few years. NHS is for the UK. Then they will complete that in the next 3 years, and then once that is successful, Galleri can be used in the UK as well. On its part, to assure regulatory authorities and FTC that Illumina will not be playing a spoil sport, Illumina has pledged to continue selling its DNA sequencing services to other firms. It has also offered to sign contracts to supply any of Grail's rivals and to not raise prices. So they are trying to give that kind of an assurance. And I personally think that this is the argument they should showcase instead of saying that they didn't get due process. Because again, they can be given some due process and again, it will be in the same situation. But if they give mitigating factors, I think that should work. Not only in the US, but also the deal faces stiff resistance in Europe. In early December, EU antitrust regulators proposed measures for Illumina to unwind its acquisition of Grail 3 months after blocking the deal. They also have imposed a penalty, and Illumina has put a reserve for that, and that's going to be on the global revenue for Grail. And the flaw I find in the argument is that Grail has made with the European Union is that they are saying we do not operate in Europe, so European Union antitrust activity authorities have got no jurisdiction over us. The flaw I find in this argument is that it then means that Europe will be deprived of a successful Galleri test, and that wouldn't be acceptable. So in both Europe as well as the US, I don't think Illumina is putting forward the right appeal. Illumina has also appealed the decision on the grounds that it does no business in Europe, and therefore the EU competition enforcer has no jurisdiction. So as I mentioned, that I don't like as an argument. Billionaire investor Carl Icahn, who owns 1.4% of the company, had also urged Illumina to unwind the Grail deal, which he called a risky acquisition. Illumina CEO Francis D'Souza, who was challenged by Icahn nominee Vincent Itieri, survived the campaign, and the board size is now expanded and diluted the influence of Carl Icahn. But at the same time, it also showed that Francis D'Souza, his own support has weakened among the shareholders because he won with much less votes than he had before, almost 30% less votes than before. But one can see why D'Souza is so adamant about keeping Grail. The Galleri blood test, if successful, will be a gold mine. However, such mega ventures also have major risks, and that's exactly what Carl Icahn is talking about. Illumina did not lose much in value today, and it is still on a lower bull channel, in my opinion. And this company is just is a great company just as a genomic sequencing machine maker. But if Galleri is successful and remains a legitimate part of Illumina, then that will be the icing on the cake. That's my personal opinion. Personally, I don't think Illumina can prevail with their current arguments against FTC. If they highlight ironclad commitments such as agreements to show that they won't stifle the competition, then it may work. They need to handle European Union antitrust authorities head-on instead of shying away from the jurisdiction. They could probably give the same assurances through agreements to the European Competition Commission, and that should be more effective than the current argument that they are having. And I would like to know what you guys think. You may have different perspectives because you're seeing different news items and different information in different places. So please let me know what your thoughts are regarding Illumina in the comment below. It always helps. With that, I would like to bring this video to an end, my friends, and I hope you have a great day at the market today. Bye for now.